the idea is to look at some dark patterns, dark design, UX, conversion patterns, see what we can do to learn from those. Take those lessons from the dark side that employ some what I call evil usability, and see if we can back it up a little bit and keep it on the good side. But evil usability, I admit, sounds a little judgy, so let's define what that means. I'm defining it simply as when someone uses your brain's wiring to trick you into doing something you don't want to do. Keyword there is trick. And in this definition, I see it as kind of like assault, right? With assault, it's not intent that matters, it's whether the aggrieved person perceives that they're being threatened. Likewise, I think with evil usability, if someone thinks they're being tricked, right? That's the trigger. It doesn't have anything to do with your intent necessarily. But I thought it would be helpful as we look at some of these visual examples from kind of using some of the dark patterns of usability for us to have a shared frame of reference for how to evaluate these things. So I came up with what I'm calling the evilometer. And at the base level here with good and evil, we're in the Star Wars universe. You've got people who just don't know what they're doing. That's your Jar Jars, right? And then you've got the Emperor over on the evil side. At the middle level in the Marvel universe, the good guys represented by Captain America and the bad guy by Loki there. And at the top tier in the DC universe, it's a little more ambiguous. That's kind of a gray area, right? And that, I think, is where most of us live. They're in the real world, and that's where a lot of growth hacking tactics reside, right? So this is a lens, though, that isn't usually applied in this universe. There isn't usually a moral question, but I'm advocating that we start to ask ourselves whether this is the right thing to do when we're employing many of the growth hacking tactics that we're seeing out there. Because I'm seeing a lot of patterns develop, some of which we're going to walk through today, that have me a little bit worried about it. And I want to make sure that we stay on the right side of the line and we're doing the right things long-term for ourselves and our users. Because if people feel tricked, that's got to be bad for your brand and your business long-term. So I want to dive in, show you 5 different dark patterns and some lessons from each of those that we can learn that kind of pull it back from the evil side just into that gray area. Hopefully it's deliciously evil. So we'll walk through some of those. First pattern I'm calling ambiguous buttons. The defining characteristic of ambiguous buttons is they're intended to kind of paralyze the user, right? You have no idea what to do when presented with this choice. And usually employed as button labels, but sometimes the context of how this choice architecture is presented can also mess with people's heads. And this example, I think, is a good one. I'm reading this article about SaaS pricing pages. I'm excited to be reading this article. And as I start to scroll down, I get this overlay pinned to the top of the browser, and it says, we'd like to send you notifications of upcoming content and research. Well, I'm already kind of thrown because notifications generally has a mobile connotation to it, but I'm on my desktop, clearly, so I don't quite get that. But it's the button labels that get me, right? Skip content and get content. Now I'm thrown, I'm paralyzed, because the content I want is actually there on the screen. So I don't want to skip content, because I'm really into reading this article. I navigated here for a reason. I don't want to get content, because that pretty clearly is going to take me away from this page. So it feels like skip content is going to take me away, and get content is going to take me away. So what did I do, right? I'm supposed to be a web usability guy. I read the article in the 2 inches of screen real estate that I have remaining. I choose not to make a choice because I'm afraid of what's going to happen, right? So it's funny in this case. It's probably not too much harm done because there's valuable content here, but aggregate the impact of that over time and the engagement rate is going to decline for these guys. So how do you do it better? Same design pattern, same really logic to the whole process here. They still have questionable language in that they're using notifications in an unexpected way. I happen to know, as do all of you, that they're referring to browser notifications, and they're not going to ask for my mobile number to notify my phone. But the buttons, they've fixed. Allow, don't allow. Plain as day. I know what the impact of each of those choices is. I can make that decision and move on with my life. Second pattern, what I'm calling the dictatorial upsell. I love this one. Anybody used U-Haul? Yeah, a number of people. Did you book it online? Yeah, some people did. Okay, all right, so you're familiar with this. I apologize, this is gonna be repetitive for you. But maybe you didn't have the same allergic reaction to this that I do. First choice, you're there for the truck. They advertise it for 19 bucks. You're gonna splurge. You're going for the 17-footer at 29, plus 89 cents a mile, right? So $30 truck. Great, no problem, let's do this. First upsell, $14 for the insurance on a $30 truck. That seems a little much. I don't know, I don't totally get it. But the real damage is down here if you want to opt out of it. So what's going on here? Well, first off, obviously they're using shading in the most popular, and the default is to suck you into opting for the insurance coverage at a 50% premium to what you're already paying for the truck, right? Here's where it really gets kind of evil. When you opt out, they keep the shading on the top one, right? That's violating a pretty common design convention now, where the shading kind of follows the interaction and the selection. So everything about this now is screaming, you're kind of out on your own, right? And when you read the language behind it, holy crap, immediately reimburse U-Haul for damage. The rental truck you've selected has an approximate value of up to $45,000. Bullshit, right? That's intended to scare you, right? So I'm already getting the creeps here. This is just the first one. Second one, you click through that. Dollies and furniture pads, the second upsell. They default you to $51 worth of dolly rental and blanket rental. $51. Do they give you a total on it? No. And is the opt-out pretty clear? It's pretty minimized relative to add to cart. No thanks, I do not need these items. That's how you have to get past that. All right, fine, you get past that. Third upsell. I'm just trying to rent a goddamn $19 truck. I splurged to go to 30, and now my third upsell, they're adding $80 worth of additional crap to my cart, right? With the heavily weighted add these supplies button, and look at the language they use on the opt-out. It's not, no thanks, I do not need these supplies. It's, I do not need supplies, right? Messed up. This is evil. This is by design. And that's another pattern that we'll talk about a little bit later. So I came in because I was responding to a $19 truck offer. I upgraded myself to the $29 truck. They added 14 for insurance. They added 51 in blankets and dollies, and they added another 80 in moving supplies. So I'm at least 10x on what I was initially planning to spend. That's before mileage, mind you, right? Messed up. So how do you do it better, right? If that's kind of the old school cheesy sales, dictatorial upsell way of doing things, how do you take a pattern and kind of leverage what we've learned works from an upsell perspective, but apply it in a way that isn't so dictatorial and kind of over the top? I love this Amazon example, and Jared Spool was the first one that introduced this one to me. What they do with Amazon, and this is on the product page, this has been there for over a decade, right? You're interested in one product, well, they show you other related products and let you add multiple to the cart, and they have this fancy pricing algorithm called addition, where they'll sell you 2 for the price of 2, right? But it's still a little bit evil, And it's evil because it has a design pattern and the appearance of a discount. It's a bundle, right? Well, if I'm buying more, surely there's a discount associated with this, right? Now, if you do the math, the answer is no. But that's the evil part. They know nobody will do the math. They're daring us, knowing that our lazy brains won't do it, right? So what this screams is, hey, Pinhead, good luck reverse engineering our fancy algorithm called addition, knowing people won't do it. I bet they could actually charge more, and people wouldn't know. But they've kept it this way for well over 10 years because it works, and they make billions in incremental revenue as a result. That's fascinating. It's still just a little bit evil. I think respectable, though. Doesn't cross the line. Next pattern, what I call the ego-crushing opt-out, where the action they want you to take is clear, preferenced visually and with language, and the opt-out makes you have to fight yourself. We actually had to work hard to come up with an example more ridiculous than the live examples I have to show you coming up. So, Hip Camp. Is anybody here from Hip Camp? He asks, cringing. No, all right, good. So, it's a site where you can go to learn about camping, reserve camping spots, and so on. And to opt out of that, you have to say, no thanks, I'm not a fan of the outdoors. On a site about camping, I've already gotten here on my own. That's messed up. That's evil, okay? To their credit, one of our designers who discovered this lit them up on Twitter, called them out on it, and they fixed it. They changed it. Just a no thanks, so good on them. Another example. Yeah, show me how. No, I like when visitors bounce, right? Yeah, I have to now voluntarily kind of acknowledge I'm a moron in order to get rid of your annoying exit intent pop-up. Gothamist. Yes, bring on the cocktails. Give me the top 10 bars. Or no, I'd rather cry alone in my apartment, right? That one's kind of funny. I'll give him some credit for that. But still, you have to fight yourself to click it, right? It's kind of messed up. And here's where it gets uncool, is on a site about health. They hit you up to opt in and say, yes, bulletproof my health, accept this offer, or no, health means nothing, right? That's messed up in the context of the individual who is here earnestly trying to find ways to improve their health. To make people have to select that is, I think, just cruel, and that's like emperor-level evil, right? That's just wrong, and they shouldn't do that. And I think we should be ensuring that we're not crossing that type of line. So what's a better example? Well, copy hackers. First off, it's much better designed, but the selections, yes, I want instant access to this white paper, or no thanks, my landing pages don't need any help, right? Still a little bit evil, right? But instead of personalizing it, instead of me having to say, yeah, I'm stupid, instead it's asking a more objective question. Do my landing pages not need any help, right? It's not attacking my ego, but it's making me ask a question. So I think this is a kind of a Batman level evil here. What I loved, though, is this guy got this to trigger on an article I was reading called "Have You Fallen for This Scuzzy Design Trend in Pop-Ups?" So I thought that was kind of just beautiful. How's it well done? On UX Mastery, they kind of mock the pattern, right? At least I'm not an exit pop-up. All right, got me laughing a little bit. This is less annoying. But they also tell you exactly what's going to happen if you opt in for this pattern. And I just like the use of profanity on this one. But how do you really do it well? Well, Neil Patel, one of the masters, he doesn't even give you the opt-out, right? And he's pioneered the neck outgrowth 3D button, which I think is kind of awesome too. I bet that actually becomes a pattern. Show me how instantly, or you've got to rely on the X in the upper right. If you'd put the X in the upper left, that would have been arguably evil. But it's in an expected place. It's where I would go to dismiss it. I can get out. So I think that's a pretty good example. Next pattern, the Roach Motel. Does anybody remember this? Anyone old like me? Remember the Roach Motel? Matt, thank you. Nice pickup. Roaches check in, but they don't check out. That was their tagline, right? And these people were fired up about the Roach Motel, as you can see. So what's the Roach Motel? You can check in, and I try to leave, and I get this overlay where my options are return to site or return to site. Thanks. That's great user experience there. Nicely done. Another example, and this one is a little personal for me. I apparently have a hang-up. I don't like Halloween, right? And I'm kind of neutral in regards to pets, but I don't like kind of cutesy pet stuff. And so when you combine Halloween and cutesy pet stuff, I just don't like it, right? And at some point, I had to re-authenticate one of my devices to Flipboard, and in so doing, I managed to apparently re-enroll in every email known to man. And I got 2 emails in succession from Flipboard. I had been just ignoring them. I'd been deleting them for a while. And they had these similar subject lines, and I thought, okay, this isn't right. You know, this is enough pain. I'm opting out now. So I open it up, and I get this, and oh, God damn it. All right, so I get over this. I hit unsubscribe, and I think, great, I just unsubscribed, perfect. And I go to click what I assume is the close button, but instead the label is manage my emails. What the? I just unsubscribed, right? So now I have to go read, which I hate doing, right? That's work. You may still receive other emails from Flipboard. Oh, God. Take a moment to visit the email manager and tell us what kinds of emails you'd like to see in your inbox. Oh, shit. All right? I've got to unsubscribe on all of these. We only want to send you emails you love, oxymoron. Tell us what you want to know more about by subscribing or unsubscribing below. That is a questionable use of English. But I've had to click now 7 times to unsubscribe from all these before I, see up here somewhere I'm almost never going to look, unsubscribe from all. Could have gotten away with 4 clicks, but to make someone click 4 to 7 times to unsubscribe is uncool. Another semi-famous example where you can sign up online, but to cancel, you actually have to send a certified mail notice to them via snail mail. Better example, if you unsubscribe from a bonobos, I can never say this right. Can I get a ruling? Bonobos? Bonobos. All right, yeah, I don't know. All right. So I go to unsubscribe, and they thought it through. Well, why are people unsubscribing? Well, they're usually responding to an individual email they've just received, and they're annoyed at that point, probably by the frequency of it. It's not that I hate the company. I just don't want to get any more damn email. And so they let you select the frequency. And sure, it's an option to completely unsubscribe there. But now I've got a chance to be in control. And I thought it was really well done. LinkedIn does a nice job. If you are a subscriber to one of their premium services, they'll easily let you cancel. Nothing to it, no problem. Last pattern, I call the anglerfish. The anglerfish resides in the depths of the Marianas Trench, very deep parts of the ocean, right? And has this device that hangs off its head that makes it look like something that little fish want, but they don't. And that's the anglerfish pattern, right? It makes something that looks like something you want, but it is actually something you don't. Best example of this, British Airways. Who can spot the problem here? Nicely done. They have these shaded options that they label the lowest that just are not, right? And I have spent hours trying to reverse engineer this. I've pulled people in from different cultures, languages, countries. We have really tried to get our heads around this, and it's just completely nutty. It's totally irrational. It is not the lowest in the column. It's really kind of remarkable. And the fact that there are 2 for a single flight, 2 labeled lowest is truly crazy, right? It's not. In this view, it is, but it's seemingly random, and it makes no sense. Last one. The green dot on the mobile app lets you proceed in this game, right? And you're conditioned, Pavlovian. The green dot lets you proceed with the use of this game. And you click it probably 50 times at every level until you get presented with the purchase option, which is another green button, by which point you've been conditioned and you click that. And this was brought to me by, embarrassingly, one of our designers said, yeah, I did this, I clicked it. They make all kinds of money leveraging that pattern. It's the anglerfish pattern. The better pattern, of course, is just to not obscure it. And the point here is that you don't have to sell your soul and rely on dark patterns, evil usability, in order to achieve ludicrous growth. There are a lot of good examples out there. Apple's the obligatory one. Slack, I think, is doing a great job. Amazon in general, I think, does a really nice job. And as the gentleman referred to upstairs, companies that outperform on customer experience actually outperform on financial metrics as well and tend to grow faster. There's an increasing body of evidence around that. So my plea to you is not to actually trick people, but to try to stay just this side of the line, at least, on the evilometer. Stay in the crafty world, and obviously we stay out of Jar Jar land. But gray is fine. Just try not to veer too much into the dark. So, as I'm out of time, we can go to Q&A here. Thanks, all. Are the short and long-term implications of these evil techniques quantifiable? How long before the evil prompts are forgotten? That's a good question. It can vary, certainly. I think it is quantifiable, but you've got to have a longer window. And my concern is that in the pursuit of short-term gains, people are willing to sacrifice long-term goodwill and, really brand value. Tips and books on how to get better at being crafty. Well, I think the best book on web usability is Don't Make Me Think, Steve Krug. And they have a number of excellent examples in there. That's the primary one I think I'd recommend. Other questions before we wrap? All right. Seeing none. All right. Thanks all very much. Appreciate it. There was one more question. Do you have any data that supports these tactics as being good or bad? That's a good point. It's a relative judgment. I think the concern is that they're good in the short term and bad in the long term. And there's a kind of a decay effect as to how long they're ultimately good for. You can juice click-through rates by using some deceptive tactics, no question. How do you measure the impact on trust? That's a difficult one. You really have to make a kind of a moral judgment there. Laws in other countries on this, like Canada. Have you seen others be sued? I know that in Europe, it's more difficult to make direct competitive comparisons. I've not heard about legal troubles in Canada specifically. Gosh, and I would hate to think that governments would have to regulate this type of stuff. We really should self-police. God, let's not let it get to that point, I guess would be my response. Let's not make it necessary. All right. Well, let's wrap there. I know we got to get to the next session. Thanks all. Appreciate it.